Amazon acted like the bad corporate guys in a Radiohead video, like cartoonishly evil, suit wearing, everyman disparaging, like assholes. And Christian Smalls is out here feeding people baked ziti, and like talking to people and like, having a cookout and making it clear that, he was fired for protesting poor treatment at his warehouse. And he was making it clear to the people who were there that despite the fact that he had been fired, he cared about them. He cared about them in a way that Amazon failed to demonstrate care. Hello and welcome to Hysteria. I'm Erin Ryan.
And I'm Alyssa Mastromonaco.
Alyssa, it seems that the news this week would again indicate that evil is winning.
It's at least taking center stage, if not winning.
Evil is such a evil is that person that shows up to the party and is like, I broke my ankle. It's like,
but it's not on crutches.
Yeah, histrionics, excuses, just attention grabbing, joy sucking. Yeah, I mean, this should be a happy week, right? We've got Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, who has enough support to be confirmed to the Supreme Court, with the announcement that Senators Mitt Romney, Lisa Murkowski, and as last week we discussed, Susan Collins, announced that they would be supporting her nomination once she's put before the whole Senate for a vote. So that means that, even the most Kirsten Sinema of histrionics cannot derail this at this point. So, that's good. That's good. Ketanji Brown Jackson is going to be an excellent Supreme Court justice, and it's really exciting for a number of reasons. But God, if we can't just if there are people who just want to come in and ruin things all the time, and that's kind of Republicans on the judiciary. What's the latest in their sort of chest clutching, male emoting?
In one of the more exhausting and stupid moves, all 11 Republicans on the Judiciary Committee voted against the nomination of Judge Jackson. Now, Erin, that means they're not voting her out of committee. That means they wanted her to not even get a vote on the Senate floor. Now, this prompted Democrats to use a procedure that I personally didn't know existed to force the nomination out of a deadlock panel with a vote of the full Senate, which is why, when this was all happening, I was personally confused. Why is Mitt Romney saying this now? Why? Because they all actually had to vote. And she was voted 53 to 47. Yay.
We're paying these people, right? And they're just wasting time left and right.
It is they have one job and it's to vote. And they're I don't know. They're not today. My arm hurts.
It's not only to vote, but it's to pass laws. They're not fucking passing law. They're not people in this. I cannot emphasize enough how unproductive the Senate is. I cannot emphasize enough how unproductive they've been because of obstructionism on the Republican side of things and histrionics among a couple Democrats. And yet, just imagine that you were that unproductive at any other job.
Not acceptable.
Imagine if you were that. Let's say that you worked in an Amazon warehouse. Let's say. And you just showed up and you were like, I'm not only going to not do my work, I'm going to keep everybody else from doing my work. You get in trouble.
I'm going to perform a ludicrous one-man performance in the middle of the warehouse.
That nobody wants, that doesn't benefit anybody.
Nobody wants.
That doesn't benefit
and
anybody.
Distract everybody.
Yeah, it's so... Can we go back in time and give Josh Hawley enough attention or less attention when he was younger? Is there some way to go back and retroactively calibrate how much love and approval he should have received and correct that so that he doesn't grow into the person that he has become?
It's true because, the interesting thing about all of those people is that they're all trying to keep up with each other, right? It's like it's like Ted Cruz is so crazy, so Josh has to be crazier, and they all want to be crazy enough to get Donald Trump's endorsement, but he's running for president. So what are they all doing this for?
They all want to get on TV. They all want to get on TV, and like,
but they've got their own platform in Fox News. It's like they can go on whenever they want.
But they're basically competing with each other to be in the A block. That's the thing. It's like, like,
you're right.
If you know anybody who's like a New York Times writer, you know how they always get really excited when they're page A1 or they're above the fold.
Yes.
They always, and look, I love Taylor Lawrence. I used to work with her, but I was like, you too, Taylor. You're going to post an Instagram picture when you're on page A. I mean, fine. Well earned. She's a great reporter, but I was like, that's just the timesiest thing that those Times writers do. The Republican Senate analog of that is being in the A block of some dumbass Fox News show.
Of Tucker
Carlson. Is that how they pronounce it? Carlson? I guess in Sweden it might Carlson. But anyway, yeah, Tucker is the big prize for them, and I don't understand what it is, and it's all very tiresome. It's all very tiresome, and again, like, when I was on PodSave the other week with Tommy, we talked a little bit about opportunity costs, and it's like, people have a finite amount of time. It's possible to care about multiple things at once, obviously, but there is a finite amount of time and attention that people have. And when we have people who are elected officials giving their time and energy to stuff like, accusing Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson of being a Nazi supporter and a pedophile, like, that's what they're doing. They're not using their energy doing things that people need or want. So, yeah, just, something to keep in mind. There's a reason that we don't have paid family leave. There's a reason that we don't have universal health care. Not that Republicans would help us, but like, anyway, I'm rubbing my face in frustration. And it's going to make my face look weird if I keep doing it. Okay. So, speaking of Amazon, we alluded to this earlier. This happened on April 1st. So when I first saw this, I was like, is this a joke? Not a joke. Amazon workers have voted to unionize in a Staten Island warehouse thanks to the work of Chris Smalls, a certifiable modern-day David who took on a modern-day Goliath and won. Alyssa, what was your reaction when you saw that? Did you think that they had a shot?
So it's interesting. After all that we have watched go on in Bessemer, Alabama, with the unionization efforts, I was worried. I mean, it felt like they put so much effort into that, and they were so close, and they weren't able to cross the finish line there. I was not optimistic, Erin, and shame on me for that. Shame on me, because not only did they vote to unionize, it was like a pretty decent margin. It was like 2,600 to 2,100. And I just think that is fucking great. And you want to know why? Let me tell you why. Aside from the fact that, I'm highly pro-union, is that, like, if there's one thing that we have learned over the past 2 years, is that healthcare workers, nurses, transit employees, frontline workers, essential workers. And it turned out that so were Amazon workers. They were getting us what we needed when the supply chain just crapped the fuck out and we couldn't find anything. It was like on these folks to get us whatever we could, whether it be real masks, counterfeit masks in some instances, like the food we couldn't find, the paper products we couldn't find, the oximeters for our fingers, everything. So much of what I needed came from Amazon. And so I was so overjoyed to see that this was not a heinous April Fool's joke.
Yeah, it was surprising to me too, because I found what happened in Alabama to be very disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
But reading more, and honestly, I wasn't following this as closely as I followed the Alabama story, because I didn't like. I mean, this is just like a human weakness story from my end, because I just didn't want to be disappointed again. I was just like, ugh, I can't watch. I'll look when it's over, and then I'll read like whatever postmortems. But the thing that I have kind of picked up on is that Amazon acted like the bad corporate guys in a Radiohead video, like cartoonishly evil, suit wearing, everyman disparaging like assholes. And Christian Smalls is out here feeding people baked ziti, and like talking to people and like, having a cookout and making it clear that, he was fired for protesting poor treatment at his warehouse. And he was making it clear to the people who were there that despite the fact that he had been fired, he cared about them. He cared about them in a way that Amazon failed to demonstrate care. And also, in the process, Christian Smalls looks extremely cool.
So cool.
I cannot emphasize enough how cool he looks. So in the process of dismissing Christian Smalls and the union drive, Amazon not only made itself look even more bloodless and out of touch, they created a folk hero, essentially.
Hands down. Red tracksuit and all.
Yeah. And like it was, and he also had this, I wonder if he pre-wrote this jab.
Oh, so good. Bezos. Say it. You do it. It's so good.
I'm going to paraphrase. Basically said, when Jeff Bezos was going to space, we were here organizing a union, which is like really great. I'm glad. You know what? We've been talking about how people should use the time that Jeff Bezos is in space to do stuff to Jeff Bezos. Like take his stuff. But this was probably a more productive and lawful use of their time than like taking Jeff Bezos' house and being like, nope, we live here now.
It's one of these things. It's like the company is so rich. Jeff Bezos is so rich. Why do they act like it's some fucking existential threat to the company if they unionize? Like they're trying to scare, like their propaganda that they were using is supposed to make all of us be like, oh no, I'm not going to get my oximeter on Prime if these guys unionize. It's like, it's just so, like hackneyed. I don't know. It's very uncool.
Yeah, they're the least sympathetic people that I could fathom. And I think it's really about like growth for shareholders. And I think something like, and it affects such a tiny number of people who are trying to suck all the blood out of as many people below them on the economic strata as they can. It's like I said, the least sympathetic people that I can picture in America. Anyway, good for them. I mean, look, we said evil was having a big week, and it truly is. We don't have time to get into Ukraine headlines this week, but we're going to put some stuff in the show notes about how to continue to help people who are over there. So we're going to, we are aware of what's happening over there, but we don't have time to get into it. Plus, Pod Save the World does a great job of breaking that down. One more thing. There's some fuckery afoot in the American South once again.
It just keeps getting better.
Fuckery afoot in the American South. Look, Oklahoma passed a total abortion ban on Tuesday, I believe, and Governor Kevin Stitt has promised during his time in the governor's mansion, he would sign any anti-abortion law. Oklahoma, of course, has been seeing an influx of patients seeking abortion care since Texas passed their rootin' tootin' abortion ban last year, and the Supreme Court failed to intervene. And so now Oklahoma is trying to make it terrible for women as well. But let's not sleep on Alabama.
A jewel in the crown.
First in the alphabet, last in everything else. A new Alabama bill would require a negative pregnancy test for women to buy medical marijuana.
From a doctor.
From a doctor. A new bill from Alabama would require women from ages 25 to 50 to produce a negative pregnancy test from a doctor or medical lab before purchasing medical marijuana. The test needs to have been conducted within 48 hours of the purchase. It passed out of a committee 7-2, and it is the brainchild of an actual OBGYN, Senator Larry Stutz. Here's my question, and again, paranoid tinfoil hat wearer here. Does Larry Stutz own any shares, stock in medical testing companies?
I was wondering the same. He's literally requiring women to go to a doctor, take a doctor's visit. There's that copay. Get a test, which Aaron, let me just put a fine point on it. If I went to my doctor at age 46 and was like, hey, can you give me a pregnancy test? They're going to be like, oh, girl, come on now. It's like, no, you have to so I can buy weed. Like, what?
I mean, it's just, can we have anything? Can women have
Not in
anything?
Alabama.
Eh.
Not in Alabama.
Also, like, what about women who don't have sex with men? What about women who have had hysterectomies? Like, really? We're talking.
There are a lot of problems with this bill. Like, you're not allowed to get it if you're a breastfeeding mom. How exactly do I prove that I'm not? I don't know.
I guess maybe they squeeze your tits, and if any milk comes out, you're not allowed to have weed. I don't know. It's so very crude, very crude. But like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? Like, here's the reason I asked the question about Senator Larry Stutz, which was based on nothing but my low expectations of Republicans. In Florida, back when Rick Scott was the governor, they passed a law that required welfare recipients or state a SNAP, I think it was SNAP recipients, to have a negative drug test in order to receive benefits. Now, who else receives government benefits technically is the governor. The governor is being paid by taxpayers. They are recipients of government benefits. Elected officials are always magically exempt from these drug testing requirement laws. But anyway, it turned out that a member of Rick Scott's immediate family had a compelling interest in medical labs. And the actual, the law itself didn't save the state any money. In fact, it cost the state money, which went to the cost of testing. So, like, it was all kind of a cash grab. A cash grab.
It's funny how that works.
A cash grab that kind of masqueraded as a moral panic. And there are people who are going to fall for those over and over again. People who are always going to be like, yeah, you know what? We should be blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, it's never about morals. It's always about cash. It's always about money.
Well, also, not for nothing, but about this stupid Alabama law, it's like, do you have to prove, like, it goes to the point that, like, well, do men have to have vasectomies before they go in? Like, do they, like, what?
Honestly, smoking marijuana is one of the, it lowers your sperm count. And I think that men should have to get a signed permission slip from their wife or girlfriend before before they're able to get medical marijuana, because they need to prove within 48 hours that they're not trying to have a kid or trying to conceive, because the medical marijuana could, prevent conception by lowering sperm counts. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that one out there. Just throwing that one out there. I think more people should be on medical marijuana. I agree that it's like not safe for a pregnant person to use marijuana, but also, like, can we just like trust pregnant people to make the right decisions for themselves? Like, can we just trust
drinking?
I mean, like, that's probably what's going to come next, is like people aren't allowed to purchase like wine if they're pregnant. It's gross. It's all so gross. What are we going to do about this?
I don't know.
I don't know. So, yeah, the reason that this is all going on is because Alabama just legalized medical marijuana with a lot of hoops for people to jump through before they're able to obtain it. And the legalization bill was signed by Governor Kay Ivey back in May 2021, but there's no dispensaries currently open in the state. So it's sort of a solution in search of a problem, and it's weird and gross and creepy, to be frank.
Erin, I think that you have just summarized a large part of the GOP plan. It's just all solutions in search of actual problems.
Right. It's like constructing this imaginary pregnant woman who's like, you know what? I'm going to get my fetus high, like sklunking off. I don't know, slunking, whatever.
I don't know. It was like, I'm like, if she's spelunking, she shouldn't do that either.
Spelunking off. No, she's kind of skulking into the medical marijuana dispensary, just very, very, like, very sneakily toking, getting her baby
with a handbag in front of her belly.
Yeah, it's you know what?
Fucking morons.
If you care that much about harmful things that happen to pregnant people, deal with pollution, deal with air pollution, dude. Like, it is so much more harmful for a pregnant woman, a pregnant person, to drink water that is contaminated, to breathe air that is contaminated over the course of their entire pregnancy than it is for them to be exposed to secondhand pot smoke or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, if we're going to talk about like, I'm not endorsing people using marijuana while they're pregnant. I completely quit that cold turkey the second I was even trying to have a kid. But also, I don't really think it's necessary to make laws requiring people to prove that they're not pregnant before they purchase marijuana. I think it's necessary to make laws like that help us manage pollution, which cause a lot more birth defects and long-term problems than fucking pot. But anyway, I'm on a soapbox. Okay, let's we have a quick toast before we take a break. Toast in Colorado. Once again, climbing up the rankings of the states.
A beautiful state full of good people.
Good people. I think people from Colorado want us to shut up about Colorado being great because people keep moving there and it's getting more expensive. But you know what? Too bad. It's your fault for making your state awesome. The right to abortion in Colorado is now guaranteed under state law. The state now enshrines the right to have an abortion. It's called the Reproductive Health Equity Act, which affirms that pregnant people in Colorado have the right to continue a pregnancy and give birth or have an abortion. And it blocks all public entities from denying or restricting that right. Colorado is now one of 16 states and Washington, D.C. in codifying the right to have an abortion either prior to a fetus's viability or throughout a pregnancy in state law. So
Thank you, Colorado.
Thank you, Colorado. Oh, and then real quick before we take a break, I guess we're going to troast Murkowski and Romney. Because we troasted Susan Collins. I mean, thank you for doing the bare minimum. I will send Mitt Romney a lukewarm cup of decaf coffee.
I would send him some daisies.
Okay. Oh, daisies are great, though.
Yeah, I know, but they're not too over the top.
That's true.
You know, it's like a token. It's a token. I'm saying token thank you because the Senate is such a crapshoot. We've got some folks in the Democratic Party that we can't totally rely on. So I am grateful that it did not come down to the wire, that it wasn't 51-49 or whatever. Judge Jackson deserves a little bit of 53-47 action.
Definitely. She definitely does. I'm going to send Lisa Murkowski. What am I going to send?
An edible arrangement?
I think, I'll send her an edible arrangement that is mostly cantaloupe.
That's fine. Not chocolate covered, mostly cantaloupe, but totally fine. Because you know why I also give her more credit than Susan Collins? A lot less hand-wringing involved with Lisa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's not always fucking running to the MSNBC camera trying to not love MSNBC and be like, oh, I don't know. And instead she just comes out and says her thing. You know what I mean? She just fucking says her piece. And that that's why I give credit to Mitt Romney as well, though Caroline did remind me of his dinner with Donald Trump to be Secretary of State.
Yeah.
The one dinner that needed more alcohol that had no alcohol present.
Nobody there was drunk enough.
I'm not saying I'd vote for any of these people, but Lisa Murkowski and Mitt Romney, I
troast.
They spend less time in their frowning chambers than Susan does.
Right. Yeah, fine. Thanks for doing the bare minimum, guys. Thank you for jumping over the lowest bar imaginable. And welcome back. We've gotten to the part of the show where instead of doing I Feel Petty this week, we're going to do Sanity Corner. We're going to talk about things that are helping us feel a little bit more like human beings in a world that sucks a lot of times. Sanity Corner. Alyssa, what is your Sanity Corner this week?
You guys, so first, as we have been discussing, there's a lot of good television on right now. And so whether it's The Dropout, I've been enjoying We Crashed. I think that's actually pretty true to my personal experience.
Oh, good. I wanted to know if I should watch it. That's good to know.
It is okay, so honestly, Anne Hathaway it's genius.
What is she doing with herself? Why is she like just
bathing in
more
milk?
Resplendent every year?
I don't know, but she's so fucking good as Rebecca Peltro Newman.
The perfect use of Anne Hathaway.
she is wonderful, and it's just like highly entertaining. You throw a little Abbott Elementary into the mix, and so what I do is I watch all of my episodes when they drop, and I enjoy them, and then I watch them back to back as I try to like. So right now I'm working on making penne de Pasqua, which is Italian Easter egg bread. You know when you see like the braided breads with the colored Easter eggs in them? So it's actually, everyone says it's easy. It's actually kind of hard. And the first few have really fucking been bad.
Anything
but
involving
I make it
braids is when
it's like it's
that's
a
not
mess.
easy. Yeah.
It's a mess, and it's like I'm not cooking it for the right times. It hasn't come out right. But it doesn't matter because I put all my shows on that I've already watched, and I rewatch them while I do this. And for some reason, in my little apron that Erin sent me, I am just so at peace and I enjoy myself. And it's like I don't look at my phone because guess what? My hands are sticky and dirty. And I have found that I had stopped, once sort of life opened back up, I had stopped with my baking and all that stuff. And this is like, it's not just the baking though. It's like the news can't be on. It has to be my shows. And I just laugh and enjoy and I guffaw at Michaela on the Dropout, chasing people around like I don't even know. It's so good.
So baking and cooking while you're watching TV is such a good way to not do the second screen thing. It's such a good idea.
That's my excitement.
I mean, what a domestic goddess you are. And then
But I'm not. The thing is, I'm not cringe. I'm not posting my sourdough. No one has seen this shit on Instagram. Though if one comes out nicely, people can recall this episode and be like, oh, Alyssa had been at this for like a month.
Right. Let's like be honest about the effort we're putting in. Yeah. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. And when it does turn out, I want pictures. So text them to me
don't
if
worry.
You're not going to post
worry.
them. So here's my Sanity Corner this week. Like I mentioned before, I watched both the men's and women's NCAA basketball championships. Two fun games, two great games. My Sanity Corner this week is watching sports with a person who pays attention to the game but doesn't really know what's going on and likes to talk about it during the game, especially if you're not personally invested in the outcome of said game. So like I'm not a UNC fan. I wasn't a Kansas fan. Wasn't super invested. I just wanted to watch a good basketball game. I watched it with my mom, who was like spending half of the second quarter trying to figure out what a Tar Heel was and like reading the Wikipedia article of what a Tar Heel was. So it was like
North Carolina.
Yeah, it was like, she's like, I believe it's a goat thing. It's a goat thing. No, it's a sheep thing. And it was just so entertaining. And it made me think that what I would really love is to have somebody with my mom's level of, she knows basketball really well, but she didn't know like the players on the teams and she didn't really care about either team. Having someone with my mom's knowledge base as a member of every commentary team on TV would be
that would be a joy.
That
would be a joy.
Oh,
like
they're doing the Mannings like commenting on football games. They're experimenting with like Peyton and Eli Manning talking about football and having guests and stuff. And like I want it, but having someone in the mix who's like, I only sort of know what's going on. I think that'd be great.
That's me in golf. I participate fully.
Commenting on the color of their uniform.
Well, you know what? That young man, he looks like he could be 15 years old. Oh, thank you. That's great information, Mom. That's great. He's 18, maybe 19. He's a recent 15-year-old.
The most wholesome way to watch a basketball game
is have a mom involved or a dad who doesn't care about the outcome of the game. So that's my Sanity Corner this week. Dana, what is keeping you sane this week?
So this is sort of a reverse Sanity Corner. I've been making myself crazy with wedding planning because I feel like there's just a surplus of like wedding magazines and wedding books and wedding websites, each one with like hundreds of tips of things that you should/shouldn't do. And, every time you look at it, you're like, oh, here's another $4,000 I didn't even realize I needed to spend. So my Sanity Corner is just not do that. Don't look at wedding websites. You don't need to. There's no law, because once you look at wedding websites, you think like, oh, I have to do this. And no, you don't. That's the secret that people don't tell you. You don't have to do any of it.
The best weddings you went to and what you liked about them, and just do that.
Yeah. I mean, nobody is like, you know what, God, those party favors that they gave out, those tiny little bottles of sand with the name of the bride and groom on it.
Jordan almonds.
Yeah, it's like
Oh, the napkins, the menu, like none of that freaking matters. But once you are in this ecosystem, you think it's the most important thing that your tablescape and your napkins matches, the tablecloth back at their hotel room. Like none of it matters.
It would be funny, though, if you had a guest that was like storming into the middle. I object. And then they hold up the goodie bag that they were gifted when they arrived at the hotel next to the invitation. And they're like, these are different fonts. These people are not prepared to start a life together. Can't even fucking match fonts. Get them out of here. It's like in Indiana how you have to take a blood test to make sure that you're not marrying a relative.
You have to take a blood test?
There are some states where you have to take a blood test and like prove that you're not related by blood. In California, it's can you match the fonts? So not in Arizona though. You actually get penalized for matching fonts. So that's how we got around that requirement. Michaela, what is your Sanity Corner this week?
So this might be a little controversial because depending on what state you're in and where you're listening to it, what's legal and what isn't. But okay, so I, like everybody, have been having some anxiety. And I just went to, yeah, sure. And I went to Georgia and shot this movie there with all these like young folks. And they were awesome and they were so much fun. And the best night of my life happened there. And I'm trying to import it into my life here back in California, which is I got a tiny bit high. Okay. Just like one quick little puff of a joint, guys. Okay. Just a teeny tiny little, just the tip. And then we painted. We did watercolors. And then on top of that, we had a really colossally bad movie on in the background. In this case, it was a wonderful film, which I highly recommend, called Deep Water. And it stars Ana de Armas and Ben Affleck. And they are quite good actors who are in a terrible, terrible script. And they are held hostage by it. And we, the audience, are willing accomplices of this hostage situation. And we just painted and made fun of a movie, and it was the most happy I think I've ever been in my life. So what I've done is I in my town at this art store, they had these beautiful kind of cool paintings where it's a kit where it's like a paint by numbers thing. And you can just do what I did, which is what, we were just doing watercolors and we were all just making, crazy paintings that were all very special. But I just thought since I'm a little goal oriented and I like my time to be productive, you can do like a beautiful painting that's like a paint by numbers if you're that kind of a brain, if you're that kind of like a left brain person and you're just like, I want to, conceptualize something that's going to happen. And so I just, I guess have a glass of white wine or red wine or a shot of scotch or something. Or like I said, teeny tiny little puff of a joint and paint. And you will be the happiest person you've ever been in your entire life. Sorry, that upsetting.
I want to do it.
I want to do it. You sold me. Come over when you're in LA next and we will paint. I don't know if I can't have pot right now, but
No,
I can
probably not.
I can imagine pot. And sometimes being around people who are high when you're not high, if they're like in a real happy place, you get sort of a contact high, like it's just fun to be around someone who's had like
to be honest with you, I don't even know how high I was. I just was happy. And I think I associate that with being high, but I was just really happy. It was like community and like art, and we were just laughing because this movie has so many. They're always at a party with the exact same people. It's like Bridgerton. It's like they're constantly going to balls, except it's in the Hamptons or something.
Oh God, Josh saw that movie and he was like talking about how it was one of those movies that seemed like it was written by a person who'd never hung around human people before. Like, is this how they talk to each other? Like, I don't know how people talk. This sounds right or whatever. Yeah, That sounds awesome. A bad movie and good people is like always a good combo for sure.